Placements are arguably one of the most important things you need to be optimizing when it comes to your Amazon PPC. So in this video, we're not only going to show you how to set up your PPC properly using placements, but we're going to share some of our strategies that have worked with our clients, things that you can implement on your business to get the best results you can, as well as looking at what results you have to determine what placements you should be looking at when it comes to your Amazon PPC. Let's get into the video. So to give you some proper examples, I've got one of our biggest clients here to show you how some of the things are divided up so you can see proper results from campaigns which have spent a lot of money. Now, if I take the biggest spending campaign, the one that has the best results overall, this is in the last 90 days where it spent $37,000 and it's got $144,000 in sales. So if you actually look at how the bid adjustments tab is showing, you'll see that pretty much most of the spend is at top of search. And at the top of search, the ROAS is way better compared with rest of search and product pages. Now you can see the ACoS is much better at top of search, and that's a big factor here because they're spending so much more money on spend here. Every little bit helps. So as a business owner, you want to be looking at where you can make those small adjustments, where you can perform the best overall, even if it's by 5 or even 8% ACoS. That's going to make a big difference when it comes to 144,000 in revenue. So what you want to be doing is looking at where you best perform overall. Top of search, that's obviously going to show you at the very top. So that's going to be your top spots when you search up for a main keyword. Rest of search, that's going to be showing lower on the page, which is not going to show up to as many people. You can see there's plenty of impressions showing up, but not as many clicks. So there's a lot less clicks happening at rest of search compared with top of search. And the reason is when people are scrolling below, they're going to see your ad, but they're not as likely to click it as when it's at top of search. Same goes when it's product pages. People are going to see these a lot more, especially when you're showing up on actual product display pages. And this means that you're going to get a good amount of clicks, but you're not going to get as many clicks compared with the top of search. And you can see click-through rate at product pages and rest of search is a lot lower than when you compare it to top of search. So most businesses, depending on what your CPC is going to be, you're going to want to be showing at top of search. For them, $1.19 for the price of their product, that's a really cheap cost per click. That means that they have a pretty good ACoS overall. The conversion rate for the product is pretty good. So this makes a lot of sense for them. But if you have a higher priced product, sometimes this might not be the best route. Sometimes you're going to find that the cost per click at top of search is going to be a lot higher compared with the rest of search and product pages. And you might find that the top of search bid is going to be unprofitable for you to run. You might find that, say, instead of that being $1.19, that could be a $5 cost per click. It's very typical when it comes to supplement brands and CPG brands. So if you're in one of those brands where your cost per click is very high, you might be thinking, okay, well, I can't afford top search. Well, that's okay. It means you're not going to get exposure to this amount of traffic that's higher converting, but it doesn't mean you can't go for cheaper stuff down here. You might find that that's the best place for your brand, depending on what the CPC is. So you might have to start there, and then later on when you have more spend, you can direct more of your spend to top of search. Now what you can do is you can go in and adjust your bids based on what you think is the right approach. If you want to be typically focused on top of search, you can have a placement multiplier based on your bid. So say for example, your bid is $1.19 and you want to have a much higher bid if it means getting to top of search. Well, what you could do is set that at, say, a 50% increase to your bid multiplier. And that will mean that your bid will go 50% higher than the average bid that you currently have to get that top of search placement. That means that your CPC will be higher, but as you can see, click-through rate and conversion is a lot better. Now, unfortunately, we don't have anything which can limit rest of search and product page exposure. You can obviously have these marked as 0 if that's what you want to do. To amend this, what you need to do is adjust the bid manually. You need to actually go in, find your keyword that you're going for, and adjust the bid. So say, for example, you want this to be at a very low bid on rest of search and product pages. Maybe you set that at, 30 cents, right? And then you have a top of search multiplier, which will bring that up to 60 cents. Well, you're going to be showing on rest of search and product pages at 30 cents, which might be profitable for you at the conversion rate that it has. But at top of search, you're still going to have that bid that you need. So you need to be optimizing things based on that objective. You need to be looking at what my bid is, as well as what multiplier can I put on to get that top of search placements. And by doing so, you can figure out where you're best suited with your product. If you find you're not profitable on certain ones, you can try and work your way around using this method. But obviously, you need to have some form of exposure on certain placements. Unfortunately, you can't remove completely the exposure you get on other placements, but at least with this, you can limit that exposure and make sure the cost per click is a lot lower. And this can be done by, say, for example, 30 cents. You could put a 200% multiplier to have that bid a lot lower and then have the multiplier bring you up to what your bid typically would be for top of search. So a lot of things you can do. But the main thing is, as a business owner, you need to be going in and adjusting this. And a new thing that's come out is, as an Amazon business, you can actually go ahead and target Amazon business placements. It's completely new, something that not many businesses are doing. And you can go in here and you can see if it's a good fit for your brand. So you could put a business multiplier, which means if the person searching for you is using Amazon business, and typically they're going to be bulk buying, which that's the benefit of this, you could put a placement on that. So your bid could be higher if they're a business searching for your product. That's going to be very important, especially if, say, you do a lot of wholesale as an Amazon brand, as well as if you find that you're selling to actual contractors and business owners. This is where you can use. So make sure you utilize this. This is brand new. Not many people are doing it at the moment. Now let's talk strategy. There's going to be different approaches that need to be taken depending on what type of product you have. And it's going to be determined on whether you need to make money in that acquisition or you don't. Because you're going to be either a CPG brand, which means you might have subscriptions coming in, which do give you some profit to play with every month, and you can spend the money growing with PPC. You could have some organic sales coming in because you've spent the money already, you've ranked organically, or you could have very limited organic sales, which means it's more important to make money on the acquisition. So we're going to go into all three of those situations. So firstly, if you have lots of organic sales coming in, that's going to be very determined on typically your ranking on certain keywords. And you might find you're already pushing some of these to top of search already. So you might find that on some of these keywords, you're not making money on the acquisition. And in that case, you need to do some proper deep diving into whether or not to continue that. So what I'd recommend is go on Helium 10, input these keywords which you think could be highly relevant to your product, have good search volume, just check it all over, make sure it all adds up with what facts you have. And if it has high search volume, you're ranked high for it, but you're losing money on the acquisition with PPC, potentially it's worth continuing that. And the reason is because if you start dropping below top of search, reducing the bid, you might find that because the conversion rate drops, your organic ranking starts to falter. And as a result, you'll start to lose some of those organic sales. So you need to be very careful with this delicate process. So you need to look at all of the information here, make sure you're not doing anything that could potentially disrupt any of your organic sales before you make any changes. Obviously, if you find you're not organically ranked on certain keywords, you're losing money on the acquisition, and the search volume maybe isn't that high, that's the sort of stuff you want to be cutting down because that will help your cost per acquisition. But you need to be very careful on what search volume certain keywords have before you start altering this, because it could ultimately be a bad decision and it could hurt your business. Now, same sort of situation when it comes to CPG brands and people that have a lot of subscription orders. Obviously, you're going to have some base of revenue that's coming in and a certain amount of profits. But what can happen is people can stop pushing, try and maximize profits. And what happens is people do automatically churn. So you're going to have people that do cancel the subscriptions. And as a result, you can see that your revenue starts to dwindle, same with your profits. So you need to be investing into your business despite maybe the CPA not being profitable, but just to continue that revenue growth. So what I would do in that sort of situation, because you're going to be fortunate enough to have some sort of baseline revenue and profit, is allocate a certain amount of profit every month to actually growing your PPC and growing your list. You can obviously look at how your list is growing and see if this is something that's working for you. But you need to be investing in some of these and be typically pushing at top of search if you can, because top of search is going to be the easiest way to rank. It's going to be the easiest way for you to get the exposure you need and get more subscriptions. That's how you're going to build that up. And using the bid multipliers and placements is going to be the easiest way to make sure you show up in the right place and you get ranked faster. So That's going to be hyper relevant to not only CPG brands with subscriptions, but also people that are organically ranked high. Different kind of situation if you aren't ranked organically high and you may be heavily reliant on PPC. Maybe you're around 70, 80% PPC versus 20, 30% organic. Now, it's going to be a bit more important for you to make money on that acquisition, especially if the case is that you're not already built up, you don't have organic sales coming in. So if you do take a loss in the acquisition, you're taking a loss on the product overall. So you need to be very specific on what you're actually doing when it comes to what changes you make on the multiplier. Because obviously, can you rank effectively to top of search? If the answer is yes, you should be doing that. And if you're not making money on the acquisition, what other options do you have? Maybe the keyword can be updated. Maybe you're going for too broad of a keyword and it's too expensive. Maybe go for something more longer tail. If that doesn't work, then you need to start looking at what placements you could be showing on. And you might find that it might be $1, $2 cheaper on product pages and rest of search, but you're not going to have as high of a conversion rate, so that won't be in your favor, but also click-through rate will be lower too. So you need to be evaluating what works best for your brand. You might find that you want to sink some money into the business to try and get the product going and get the advertising to work and the organic to show up more. That's different. Obviously, then you need to still look at what keywords you're going to go for and what makes sense. But if you're trying to make money on the acquisition long term and try and slowly grow, you need to be testing things out as you go along. Make sure you make the right decision. You can obviously tweak things as you go along, but make sure that you make some money with the bid adjustments. Go for product pages and rest of search where it's applicable and where it makes the most sense. And if you can, and this is what I recommend to most people and the brands we work with, try and focus on top search when it makes sense. That should be your priority, especially if the CPC is not unreasonable. If it is unreasonable, fully understand, don't go for that. But if you can, you should. And that's going to make the biggest difference for your business. We hope you found that helpful and hopefully give you some insights on how you can properly optimize your placements. There are lots of things you can be doing here, but typically top of search is where you're going to want to focus. That's what's going to have the best conversion rate and the best click-through rate. Now, if you want more Amazon PPC content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, stay up to date on everything Amazon PPC and FBA, as well as if you do need help with your Amazon PPC, you don't know where to begin, or you just don't have time to manage it yourself, click the link below for a free audit, chat with us and see what we can do to help you out. Until next video, hope you guys have a good one and we'll see you soon. Bye.